Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very, very special edition of the Dokken Music Podcast, where I have the honor of sitting with Mr. Tom Werman. Tom is one of the most legendary and successful producers of all time. He has 23 gold and platinum albums, has sold more than 52 million copies. Incredible. He spent his early years as one of the best A&R guys in the business, signing acts like REO Speedwagon, Cheap Trick, Ted Nugent, many, many more. He would later end up producing those bands, and along with a few other little bands called Motley Crue, Dokken, Twisted Sister, Poison, and dozens more. Tom released his book, Turn It Up, My Time Making Hit Records in the Glory Days of Rock Music. He released that last November in digital and print format. And now in March 26th, we will get the release of the audiobook.
It's 28th, actually.
28th? All right.
Yeah.
On March 28th, we get, no, that's fine. Please. We get the release of the audiobook, which the man himself reads, Mr. Tom Werman. Thank you so much, Tom.
My pleasure. Nice to be here.
It's so cool. This book is such a great read. It's so much fun. It's great to hear how somebody can kind of not stumble into this really, but this wasn't your plan from the beginning, was it?
No, it was kind of a dream. I actually didn't know what a record producer did until I had enough albums that said produced by, and I kind of thought it was the guy who got the money together, but I soon found out. When I started at Epic, I went in to see Jack Douglas work a little bit, and that was enough for me.
Yeah, man. And a producer is so much, I think, more than we realize when you read the book. A lot of it is a little bit of babysitting too.
Some, yes, depending on with whom you're working.
Yes. And you've seen the spectrum, really. You've had the guys that come in sober and ready, prepared, rehearsed, bang it out, no problem. And you've seen people that don't come in at all when they're supposed to. And I think that's the real fun of what you've done over the years is you've done it all, many different styles as well. We get Motley Crue, we get the heavy stuff, and we get Boy Meets Girl.
Boy Meets Girl, good for you.
I mean, how different is that? And they say you're a pop guy. You say that yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know. You've done just fine in that hard rock world, let me tell you.
I like it.
Yeah.
I would say power pop is pretty accurate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Shot at the Devil record, there's some heavy stuff on there. The first Ted Nugent record, it's it's hard
it's the pop. I think it's the pop element that I kind of distill out of there and try to feature a little more than somebody else may have, a dedicated metal producer. I wasn't really a metal guy,
Yeah.
I don't have, I didn't buy Iron Butterfly albums, I was late to Zeppelin. I was a pop guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's why there was a lot of radio success, the power ballads and
right,
that thing. And that was my job to get bands on the radio back then. And that means AM radio.
Right.
Play the hits.
Yeah. And you did that. You did that very, very well. First, tell me about the writing of the book. It was a little bit of an unorthodox way that you got it done. and then tell me about the writing of it, but tell me about the narration too, because that's always interesting.
Yeah, well,
That's interesting. Because I talked to Cherie Curry um,
oh yeah,
about her book, and she auditioned to read it, to read her own words. That's a thing. So yeah, take me through that process of actually doing that.
yeah. Well, the book itself came out, it came to be because I wrote for a blog and I wrote 18 episodes by request. And they were pretty chronological. And so I said, well, I read the stuff over and I said, this could be the skeleton of a book. And I never sat down to write. I never said, okay, I'm going to write today, or, I'm going to pound out 10 pages, whether I like it or not, every day. All I did was have a thought or hear a song or think of a memory and go to my desk. And I would write for maybe 20 minutes maximum. And I would slot it in to the right place in the career chronology. And then I massaged it over 3 years, and it became a book. And I was lucky enough to get an agent who was got me a publisher right away. So
Yeah.
it was a good fit.
And I think that's a great way to do it. Because it feels that's the way the book feels to me. It feels very natural, very organic,
Right.
very comfortable. You weren't stressing when you wrote this. You weren't trying to get it out. It
No,
feels that way. It comes through in the words.
people do say it's an easy read. That's what
Yeah.
they say. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
great. The book's been really well received, and I'm really glad because I think a lot of readers out there might have assumed that a rock and roll record producer would have trouble completing a sentence, but but
Yeah,
fortunately
I
they
don't know.
yeah,
You're a well-educated man, and you spent time in the studio with Motley Crue and actually made something. So there had to be one one guy in control. So all the rest seemed out of control from what we hear.
well, yeah, and in some cases, depending on who's telling the story, there are different versions of how we made those records. Nikki's is distinctly different from mine.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've gotten those different takes. And when somebody writes a book called The Heroin Diaries, it's hard to really take what he remembers for gospel.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
One of those things. Um, but the narration of the book, and I love this. I love especially autobiographies. I love the autobiographies. But I love when the author reads it because you get that certain stress of certain words and
Right.
phrasings that you might not get if you read it yourself or if somebody else is reading it. So I'm really, I'll be all over this audiobook. How was it to do it?
It was easy and really good because the two engineers that recorded it were superb. I had no idea how it would be. They put me in a booth, of course, with this apparently very sensitive microphone because if my stomach growled, they would stop.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, literally, my stomach did growl and they did stop. Um,
Wow.
I know that they'll master it, they edit it, they take out extraneous noise and background or anything. They even stopped when I moved and my clothes rustled. Um, he was hearing something that I wasn't.
Oh,
So
ooh.
it was fun and it took not that much time, maybe 10 hours
Really?
well, yeah, 10 or 12. I did yeah,
Fantastic.
2 5-hour days and then a little more.
Wow. You
Yeah.
you were the cheap trick of narrators. He had to be pleased as hell with that. To get a guy in and actually have him read it and not have him do it over and over and over and over and over one more time. Uh, that had to be
Um,
great. Yeah,
yeah, I didn't. They just asked me to do it. I did not audition, and I'm not sure why they did that. They paid me to do it.
great.
It's probably the only money I'll make off the entire book process.
No, I know this is I know there are a lot of people that want to read this, and there'll be a lot that want to listen to it for sure.
We've
There's no
had three printings. I think I don't know much about it because, the publisher's in London. But I know that they went into a third printing, and it's probably a little harder to find out how many books you've sold than it was to find out how many records
yeah,
you'd
yeah,
sold.
yeah.
It's a little tricky.
Well, on the third printing already, and the audiobook hasn't come out. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, I'm not going to take you through the whole story, but when you're an A&R guy, you go with your boss, you pass on Kiss, Rush, and Leonard Skinner. That's heartbreaking. And I see, I've just noticed before I got on here, on the sleeve of my jacket, we have Kiss and Rush right next to each other.
Oh,
I'm a huge Leonard Skinner fan, so it's that's heartbreaking. My heart was breaking as I read it.
yeah,
But
it was tough.
Rush was a little bit different than the other two. I just wanted to
Yeah.
touch on that with you. They knew what they had. They wanted $75,000 in advance for the first two records, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, two records. Um, Going back, looking at it now, and that would be a legitimate reason, maybe, to pass on a band that you don't know. You may like them, but don't know them. Not to take that chance. I kind of understand that. Looking back, if you had the power at the time and you heard that deal, you would have signed them still.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
they were
sure.
that good.
But the deal was that, the people in business affairs who rejected this, and apparently had more authority than A&R, they did it because of the money. They never heard the music,
Oh, of course they didn't.
you know. So they didn't know what they were turning down, nor were they really, equipped to, they shouldn't have had any decision-making authority for what we signed. But it was CBS. It was CBS, and they had guidelines, and apparently that was too much money at the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what do you do? The first Ted Nugent record with Stranglehold on it cost a total of 25,000.
Wow.
And then we got up to a point, like 15 years later, when records typically cost 200,000,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you listen to the first Ted Nugent record and listen to the $200,000 record. Yeah, that's you did a fine job with $25,000. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was a good deal. That was a great studio. You could now, people make records in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
So really it's about the music, not so much the
I
the
guess. I
facility.
guess. Yeah, I guess. But you're playing cymbals backwards and you're doing all kinds of stuff. That would be slightly more difficult maybe in the bedroom with a laptop. I don't know.
I don't know. If
I don't
you're a
know.
computer savvy guy,
Yeah.
you could probably play things backwards.
Mhm.
You'd sample a cymbal,
Right, right.
massage it a little bit, put a little echo on it, play it back. I don't know.
No,
They
no
could
flipping a
probably.
reel or anything like that, you know?
Yeah,
No
well,
flipping.
that's what we did.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
crazy.
I once made I once made a big mistake doing something backward. Because track four was available, say, and I said, okay, that's empty. We can record on that. And I flipped the tape over, and I went 16, 15, 14, 13. And I said, oh, shucks, because 16 minus 4 is 12. So I just, went on the wrong track, which should have been 13.
right.
And so that was an interesting producer screw up.
I love it. The best of them screw up, I guess. Um,
Maybe, maybe.
do you have to? I ask this every time I have a producer. Do you have to like the music? Now that sounds like a dumb question, but let me give you an example. You have a band, say Dream Theater. You're familiar with Dream Theater?
No,
Okay,
actually not familiar enough.
okay. Well, they're a progressive metal, rock metal band that, they're the cream of the crop. They're just, they're all Berkeley guys. They're just the
Uh-huh.
best of the best, right? But they're not exactly accessible. Um, Not everybody loves it because it's not always catchy, but it sometimes plays like a clinic. It's a progressive, very in that realm. But really great musicians that will bang it out and get things done and serious, level-headed guys. Um, if they come to you and ask you to produce a record, would that those kinds of things where you're dealing with really talented people, but you may have, it may not be up your alley. Would you work with it?
You're always presented with a demo of the material that the band wants to record.
Right.
And I know there are people like Rick Rubin who will just say, no, go back and write some more. I never actually had the balls to do that. But but if you don't find material that you like, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, I never got a chance really to reject a band. I did pass on a lot of bands when I was talent scouting, but yes, the answer is you have to like. I think you have to like the music. As far as I was concerned, I had to like the music because you're starting from a really good position with one leg up. You're going into the studio with music that you already like, and your job is to make it better. And that's the fun part. You're going to have to listen to these songs maybe 50 times a day, one song.
Right.
You better like it. Right.
It's
You're gonna,
torture.
yeah, yeah. So that's what's great. And the better you make it, the better it gets day by day, the more fun it is to listen to
Right.
until basically you say, okay, it's finished. Let's mix it. Let's go. Um, so yeah, you got to like it. I'm sure there are people who do it, for the money or other
Yeah.
reasons, just to stay busy or but I didn't do that. The closest I came was Krokus.
Okay.
Uh, you know, I probably uh, I probably was fond of their music less than I was fond of most of the other bands'
Right.
material. But I thought that Crocus was established and could have been big. It could have been a big album. So the project looked attractive for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
let's talk about that. I think I have that record right here, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, the
Change.
Crocus record. It's here somewhere, but change of address.
Yeah.
The the thing about that record, I see, I'm an old school guy. I put my records on, I drop the needle on them, and then I'm off on a journey for the rest of the day, reading lyrics and, just liner notes and artwork and all of that, getting the adventure, the experience.
Oh, great.
Um, Allan Holdsworth is a name that appears on that record. Now, Allan Holdsworth, one of the best players ever. Just a great
Yeah.
guitar player, not in the realm of Krokus. Tell me
No,
about that.
I can't remember why he was on that record.
That's crazy.
I think he may have had um, a personal connection with one of the guys.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I remember that he was, now that you tell me, but I wouldn't have recalled that unless you had mentioned it. I'd love to be able to recall everything, but 40, it's been what, 40 years. And it's just for an old guy, it's just too much. But yeah, Allan Holdsworth, he was superb,
Oh,
a superb craftsman.
amazing.
Where did you remember what song he was on? Or
I thought I pulled that record out, but let me see. Yeah. Yeah, a guitar solo on Long Way From Home.
oh, wow! So
So,
he played a solo. He that's a rare thing for me to bring somebody in. I must have maybe done that on 5 or 6 songs out of the 52 albums,
wow.
and I can remember most of them. And there were so few. There was Lukather, and there was Jay Graydon, and there was Mickey Raphael, who played harmonica for Willie Nelson.
Nice.
There were some strange people. I had a cello player come in for Auf Wiedersehen. Anyway,
Yeah.
I can't remember why we had Al, and I don't know.
Yeah, and knowing his history and the way he plays and who he is as a musician, it was probably about an hour long. And, yeah, and he nailed it and left.
I have, yeah, I'm going to have to listen to that right after we talk. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I remember seeing that from back in the day, and I'm so thrilled to ask you about it. Pretty great. You sign REO Speedwagon. Okay, now I'm right outside of Chicago. So REO Speedwagon, Cheap Trick, these are bands that were bigger to me than the rest of the world really before they even hit. Huge, huge bands around here. Um,
Grow up. Where'd you grow up?
right in north side of Chicago.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it was right there. A guy named Terry Luttrell starts with that band. Here's the thing. I was looking through some of the credits for you, and I came upon this is the book isn't the first thing you authored. You did liner notes on this record, did you not?
Oh, I guess I may have.
Starcastle?
Uh,
That's Terry Luttrell.
right. Right. That's amazing. Why did I? This is you're presenting me with stuff that is buried in the very back of my mind.
I thought this would be stuff that you hadn't touched on for a little while.
I didn't do stuff. I Starcastle. That was an epic band.
Yes.
I
It
didn't.
was it was Casablanca, and it was kind of they had Angel at the time and Kiss, of course. But they had Angel at the time, who was very keyboard driven. Greg Giuffria, keyboard, very, very big keyboard on that line. And Starcastle was kind of the progressive answer to Angel. That's how I always saw it, or a Yes type of thing for that label. Really great record. I love the record. But yeah, what do you remember how that came about for you? It had to be through Terry,
Absolutely
right?
not. I just don't. I do not remember. I thought I thought I had written the liner notes for one Epic Records album. Maybe I thought maybe Boston,
Okay, that
but
this is
no.
on Epic too.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, but the reissue is not through Epic.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well, Starcastle, you got me, man.
yeah, yeah. Well, that was another one. That was way not too many people know that record. But
Right,
you know,
right. Well,
and
there are so many of those. I made some albums that I would have absolutely, bet my life on that they were going to be huge, that the band was going to be huge, like
mhm,
the producers or like Mother's Finest.
yeah,
And it just didn't happen. And I was gobsmacked. I just didn't get it. Why they didn't happen. So
yeah,
that Starcastle's another one, probably,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. And you mentioned that the producers. I talked with
Yeah.
Tim Smith. I don't know if you're familiar with Tim Smith, the bass player for Sheryl Crow, Sarah McLachlan, but he was in the producers after you were with them. Uh,
Uh-huh.
but he is with he. I know him from a band called Jellyfish. Are you familiar with them? In early '90s, which when everything was changing,
Yeah,
this
that's when I bailed. Right.
well, this was the closest thing a pop band, not even really a real traditional pop band with unbelievable production. Just really Jack Joseph Puig involved in it. The lead guys on this are incredible, just an incredible band, and he was part of them as well as the producers. So he had a pop sensibility. Um, yeah, please, if you
Yeah.
get a chance, listen to Jellyfish. Just I think you'll love it because it's a traditional pop. There's some power to it, but it's not really a power pop band.
Yeah.
Really quirky, well written lyrics, beautiful music, very very catchy. All of those things. It's the closest thing to the Beatles I can think of, really.
Oh, yeah. Well, you should listen to Hawks.
Hawks, yes,
They're the closest thing to the Beatles I ever heard.
yeah, yeah.
And there was another one that didn't do anything.
Right.
Great pop record,
Yeah,
I thought.
it's funny because you're a pop guy. You say that you're not a metal guy, but your pop stuff didn't do as well as the metal stuff.
Yeah,
Kind of ironic.
it is. It is. Yeah. Did I have any? Well, I think a lot of those power ballads, right?
Right.
They were basically pop.
Totally.
I mean, you can
Totally.
sing in the shower.
Those are the ones I
Right?
didn't like as a teenager.
You didn't like Home Sweet Home? Come on.
Yeah, I don't want my metal band doing that crap. You know,
Right.
I
Well,
guess that was your fault.
yeah, and that's the complaints that musical complaints, although every band approved the record before I turned it in,
Of
which was a
course.
self-defense mechanism on my part. Um, if
Sure.
they don't like something, it's because it was too pop, I think, and not they all wanted to be really hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I listen to those records, and I've heard you say that, and I don't know. I liked Home Sweet Home. I didn't like it as much as what Tonight on that record. You know,
Yeah.
I like the
Well,
heavier
Wild
stuff,
Song.
but
Wild Song.
you got to have a variety. And I can appreciate that pop side of any band, really. It's about making it appealing, and that's what it did for sure. Uh,
Yeah.
you
It
know,
got him on the radio and kind of paved the way for girls, girls, girls.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that band changed throughout that run you had. It was really the difference from Shot at the Devil to the Girls, Girls, Girls is pretty stark. They're still the
Yes.
same band, and they did the same type of thing. They didn't move out of the genre or anything, but there is a progression for sure. Much more professional and established sounding for sure. Yeah,
Polished. A
yeah,
little,
yeah.
little polished.
But that's kind of a naughty word, I guess, and for
Oh
the
yeah,
metal
shout at the,
band,
I mean, the song "Shout at the Devil" would never have been on an AM radio playlist.
right?
But "Girls, Girls, Girls," because of the way it sounded, and and of course it was a good song, but
Yeah, yeah,
that's what sells records, and
yeah,
I always thought that was one of the things I was supposed to do.
yeah.
Because if you
Absolutely.
don't sell records, they don't ask you to do another one.
Right, right. Yeah, and we loved it out here. Polished or
Good.
not, they were great songs, and they were well done. Um, it's funny. I talked to Michael Wagner years ago, and
Ah,
he mixed. I think believe he mixed the "Too Fast for Love" record, the first Motley record.
oh yeah, he did. Yeah.
I believe he did. Yeah. And we
He
talked a
also
little
mixed
bit.
he also mixed the Dokken record
Right.
that I did that I recorded, and then
Yes.
he yeah.
Yes. But I asked him about his meeting Motley. And he remembered the first time he met them. He said Tommy Lee was on the floor lighting his farts on fire. He said it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, yeah,
So, you're meeting them for the first time was in your office, right?
yeah.
Okay, not quite the same.
No.
So, did you have any reservation when you met them, and did you know their reputation at all? Was there any kind of reservation where I might not want
Yeah,
to, I might not want to do this?
yeah, there was. Because I had been sent the album by a friend of mine, a girl, a woman, on the Epic Records staff in New York, and she sent it, and she said, "This is right up your alley. You should do this band." And I listened to it, and I thought, pretty sloppy, really, not really close enough to my to the way I wanted records to come out. They just
Okay.
I don't know, it
Kind
was a little grungy way before grunge. And so I did have some reservations, but the guy who was working for me at Elektra, Tom Zutot, um, was absolutely firm in his, you know, he was sure that this was the right fit, me and them, they and I. And and Tommy was the one who was the reasonable one in that meeting.
of.
You
Now,
know,
is that an example maybe of something you didn't necessarily like when you heard
uh, no, I did like it. Um,
just the production and
I liked what they played, what they had written.
okay,
But it wasn't, I wasn't crazy about the songs on Too Fast for Love, and I didn't listen to it that much.
right?
Um, I liked the cover.
Yeah, yeah, the cover's great for sure. um,
we 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 got down to it pretty quickly. That was an easy album to make, and except for Nicky's broken shoulder.
and I wanted to ask you too. I've heard that, and I've heard, of course, Nikki actually playing it and that whole crazy thing. And I don't want to go there. That's
That
just,
is crazy.
it's just silly. But I did want to ask you about the car accident with Vince. Because that was 84. You were right in the thick of things with them when that happened. The car accident, I believe, December 8th,
Was,
84.
were
Where,
we doing theater at that time?
yeah, I think so. Because the theater album is dedicated to Razzle,
Yeah,
who
there you go.
died in that accident. Do you remember that time? Did that affect the band in a more serious Did things get a little somber at that point?
I can't remember if they actually did, but I do remember that it was a difficult album to do, and you know, they had to do it, they had to fit it in to their schedule. They had to write a bunch of songs, having just come off a huge tour and getting ready to go on another tour. And the drugs were, the drug use at that point was, as prevalent as it ever was when I worked with them.
Yeah,
Um, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
so they were stressed.
yeah.
And
I
I'm
would
sure
say,
that's why Vince was shit faced when he when he drove the car.
yep,
It wasn't great. It was a terrible thing, I don't recall it really interrupting our work.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
is a good thing, for sure. Y- you play percussion on just about every record you've made, right?
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Now, the one I'm going to take you back here to again. This might not, you might not be able to recover this one. But when I said Cherie, you brightened up, which is great what was great to hear. Cherie and Marie Curry's "Messing with the Boys" album. You play a tambourine on a song called Overnight Sensation. Now, the thing about this record is it has all the Toto guys. The Picaros, the Lukather, they played on the record. And of course, Marie, Cherie's twin, her sister, married Luke, Steve Lukather.
Uh-huh.
So there's that connection.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Great.
Do you remember? Do you remember that session at all?
I don't, and I'm delighted to hear about it though, because
It's
I really liked her. I really like him, but I don't remember being, I remember playing tambourine and maybe another percussion instrument on Bruce Hornsby's demo for Warner Brothers.
okay.
Uh, yeah,
Nice.
Bruce Cohn's brother. Bruce Cohn was managing Hornsby. Anyway, and his younger brother was in the music business, and he called me and asked me to come over and play percussion. Anyway, that was
Nice.
fun. But no, I do not remember playing with especially with those guys. I probably didn't. It was probably come on over and put the tambourine on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't. I wasn't in the. I don't think I was in the studio with Porcaro or Lukather. I would have remembered that.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's what I figured. I see it on the record, and I see the star power on that record. And I don't know if it was star power at the time. That's 1980. So they may have just been guys. But
Yeah.
they're the cream of the crop. These guys are extremely extremely talented. Uh,
Extremely.
yeah. So yeah, I
When was Rosanna? When was Africa?
I think that was like 83, maybe.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
they were just people then.
yeah, right, right.
Session
um,
guys, just session guys.
yeah, yeah, they were these session guys, especially Luke.
Yeah.
There's not a yacht rock song out there where that doesn't have him on it. Uh,
Right.
it's just sensational. But
He came by here, he was at Tanglewood, which is 2 miles from where I'm sitting,
okay,
with Ringo, in Ringo's band, and I was
yeah,
tried to get to him, but it just didn't work out. I went to see the show, but I
yeah,
couldn't get backstage.
yeah.
I think there were still pandemic concerns then.
Ah, okay, yeah. And I
Anyway,
just
great guy, great
Yeah, and
guitar.
I just talked with his son, Trev, and you couldn't get a
Man.
more humble, level-headed, just grounded guy.
Yeah,
You never know that his dad was one of the great guitar players of all time, I mean, he's just he doesn't think of it like that, And it was really great. It spoke volumes about who his parents are.
yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty great. Let's take you down that road a little further. Another record, Lorraine Lewis is a friend of mine, a close personal friend of mine, from Femme Fatale. Uh,
What?
let me get that one for you. I asked her if she had known you. I said, I'm talking to Tom Werman. I said, are you familiar with Tom? And she said, yeah, he produced Falling in and Out of Love on this record. And you're not credited on the record. It's a David Cole record, I believe. Yeah, David Cole. I didn't see your name on it, uh,
No.
but I saw somewhere that you had a credit on that record, and I was like, well, what did you do? Uh, don't recall
Good
that.
question. Again, gee, I should write these things down. I don't have pencil and paper. I've got Allan Holdsworth. I've
Yeah,
got
for the next.
jellyfish. I've got, there are things I have to listen to. I won't remember them.
I'll send you an email with these little tidbits.
Please,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
Especially, that gee, femme fatale. I remember. I do remember
Okay. Lorraine,
the
a really great voice. She's with Vixen now. And just just a sweat person. I love her to death. One of my great friends. But she remembered that,
good,
which was
great.
a very
I'm
long
honored.
time ago. Again, um, but
Very.
yeah. Where was
And
it?
now it'd be great if we could just have a brief chat about something that I remember. Okay? Give me a break here. People are saying, "What is with this guy? He must have advanced dementia." I don't remember. I'm not at the point where I put the car keys in the refrigerator, but this is pretty bad.
No, this is
Okay.
these are really, and like I say, these are passive things that, because you were everywhere. You were revered, respected, and still are. And
That's
everybody wanted you as a piece of their record. And that's what even small things like that, small percussion or just one song on the record. Just, and that speaks volumes on, your career.
that's nice.
It really does. In the book, you name names. We know who these people are, and it's all done extremely respectfully, which I loved. It's not throwing anybody under the bus. It's just a facts thing that you do very respectfully, and truthfully. And
Except for one notable exception, D.
yeah, yeah. But I don't know. I felt you were respectful. There wasn't name calling or anything.
No, no.
That's not who you are. I mean,
It was factual.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the book is factual. Right.
It was what it was. But there's a part in the book, and it's chapter 26. I've read it a
Of course
couple
I remember.
times. It's
Yeah.
it's that great, and there's that many stories. But label execs, we use
Oh,
Margaret, and
the rant. I
you
can
know,
tell you who they were.
well, no, I mean, but why didn't you in the book? I guess that's my question. That's the only part in the book where you do use, the fictitious name, to
Yeah.
protect the
Well,
innocent.
I didn't. I wasn't familiar with libel laws. Um,
Yeah,
it wasn't beyond. I mean, I wanted to be very careful. And I was sitting and writing and thinking that if I do name names, then it's entirely possible that people could say he's defaming me. This didn't happen, and there was no proof. There was no evidence. There were no witnesses.
right.
So they could have said, well, he's making that up just to make me look bad because I didn't hire him or whatever. Um, it was a rude awakening, and and it's all true. It was unbelievable. Doug Morris being the most serious offender.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I can't tell you how I don't get it. I
Yeah.
just don't get how people can be that insensitive. Anyway,
It saddened me to read that, to read these things. Even with the bands. And one of the things that saddened me most of all, of course, was Cheap Trick. Because you love those guys.
yeah.
I mean, personally, professionally, you had a close relationship with them, and you love to produce them, and
Well, yeah, yeah.
you highly respected them, and it kind of, it just they seem to turn their back a little bit. Uh,
Yeah.
it was,
The interesting thing is, it says something. I'm not sure exactly what it says, and I didn't really go into this in the book, but the only artists with whom I still communicate uh, are the ones that didn't make it.
right.
They're the nice people, really, really good people. I do communicate with Bunny
Right.
um, occasionally. Um, I still communicate actually with Ted Nugent,
Yeah.
uh, although I am mortified by his statements and his whole political thing.
Yeah.
He and I are very far apart, but very close together in terms of musical appreciation and direction. And he's been very nice to me in the press. Um, but really, it's the Boy Meets Girl people and the producers and maybe I don't know, bands that didn't make it, that I whose people I really enjoyed. Um, but I wouldn't really not that interested in meeting keeping in touch with the big guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that's a statement
Except
that.
Brett and Cece, real good. And Ricky.
Okay.
Sorry, had to say that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great. Yeah, and I guess that speaks to the way that fame can ruin a person. Maybe there's some truth to that. Not everybody, of course, but you know, um,
Sometimes a band needs a tough guy,
right.
to spearhead their success. You can think of a few.
Yeah, and it's funny. Just a couple hours ago, I had Jeff Pilson in front of me. Uh,
Ah,
yeah,
great man.
yep, and I know how much you like Jeff, and bringing him in for Rockstar to referee Zach and Jason, and do his amazing work on his instrument, and just a positive force in the room. He's all of
Yeah.
those things. Uh, and I talked to him about working with you, and because what I was covering with him was a project he's doing with George. Um,
Ah,
yeah, it's called The End Machine. So it's a thing that they've done together for 3 albums now, I think. So they are, they have been close for many years.
right.
You did not get along with George. George did not get along with you, but very
That
much,
that's really what it was George did not get along with me.
yeah.
I was fine with George
Right.
until that moment, and the whole thing was instigated by Jeff Workman, the engineer.
And that's what he said. That's what Jeff said today.
Bad.
Uh,
Bad.
he said that Jeff made the tape and everything, and he thought Jeff Pilson thought that it may have been done as a joke initially, but but George took it for gospel.
Yeah.
He believed every word of it. And that was what happened. And you'll love to hear this. He told me to share this too. Now in the studio, when because he's producing the records,
Oh, Jeff is.
Jeff
Yeah.
is. So something will happen where George will have too much feedback on something, and they'll both be in the room, and they'll say, "This is what Werman was talking about. This is wrong. We need to
Really
fix
wasn't.
that." You
It
know,
was composition. It was the composition of that particular lead break. And I contrasted it with the Tooth and Nail lead break, which is still one of the great solos of all time. Uh,
crazy, crazy.
anyway,
Yeah,
anyway,
but they
George,
they they cite you all the time, and they say, Werman was right, and we need to change this. And he told me that George has great respect for you, which was really, really nice
hard
to
to believe.
hear.
Yeah,
It was great. It was great to hear.
that's
You know,
good. That's good because he's right up there in the very best guitarists in the world. I think.
yeah, yeah, he is
Yeah.
amazing, and he's still doing amazing things, and he's so busy still, which is really cool. Um,
Yeah, and he's dedicated to the instrument like very few people are. I
yeah,
mean, it's his whole life, the guitar, and
yeah,
it didn't he make them. Doesn't he make guitars? And
yeah, yeah, he does. Yeah, the Mr. Scary brand, I believe
oh,
he does.
that's
So, yeah. So yeah,
great.
he's a great one for sure. Um, The Dirt. Did you watch it? Did you like it? What your thoughts? Is that an accurate description, depiction of the band?
Of the band, perhaps. Yeah,
The
there was one.
happenings, not so much.
No. The only reason I read the book,
Hmm.
and it was not accurate and it was not kind.
Yeah,
I don't know again why they do this, but I mean, I think
yeah,
it was in the dirt where Nicky claimed that he produced all of Vince's vocals.
yeah,
It's complete bullshit.
yeah,
And I don't know why they do it. Maybe he wants to remember it that way. I was quite relieved that in the movie there was no producer, because I thought, oh boy, he's gonna, make me look like an idiot. Fortunately, they skipped the whole thing, which was great.
yeah,
You know, it's very strange how few artists praise their producers 20 years later.
yeah.
Uh, it, it it's it's kind of strange.
It
I was
is really strange. It
Yeah.
is.
There's no, I was going to say something, but it'll come back to me.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that is that. It's really strange because maybe it's because I'm an old school guy and I read all the liner notes. But I've seen Tom Werman and Julia's music on so many of the greatest records that I've loved throughout the years, um,
That's
that
great.
I associate that thing. When I was a little kid, my brothers had, the first Nugent album and Free for All, sitting there all the time. I get older and in high school and I'm listening to Shout at the Devil and There's Your Name Again. And then I move to something else and There's Your Name Again. And I go to Sharia Marie Curry's album and There's Your Name. You're everywhere in all the things that I love. So, you
That's
are part of that, for sure.
It's great.
And how do you not make that association? That was fascinating to me. It really was. Yeah.
Yeah, just it just happened. I didn't plan it out. Fortunately, people were buying a lot of records back then.
Yes, they were. Not so
Uh,
much anymore.
no, no. We as kids, if I had said, in our lifetime, we won't be buying records anymore. We're going to rent them to listen to from a place called the Cloud, and when we're finished listening, they'll go back to the Cloud, and we won't own any music.
It's
What? It's
it's
science fiction.
insane. It really is. It's
Yeah.
insane. Uh, let me take you down the Ted Nugent road.
Mhm.
I love Ted. You don't always like his his views, but I love Ted. I love his energy. I love his honesty. His respect for certain things, for morality too. Really,
Yeah.
um, just I think a good person deep in his
Yep.
soul. Um,
Yep.
and that's hard for a lot of people to understand.
It
Uh,
is, especially my friends.
right, right, right. How can you like this guy?
How
But
do you?
but and I see him in working the albums, and one of the things that stands out to me is Derek St. Holmes. I always had great respect for, loved the voice,
Great
and
guy. Great
yeah,
guy.
I really loved the his work on the first record, and then Free for All happens. He gets, he moves on, and you get a guy named Meatloaf. He's a pretty good singer, and and I'm thinking to myself, is Ted gonna ruin his career here? What is going on? He's gonna sing things himself, what is going on? Was that a concern for you? You lose a guy like Derek St. Holmes, talented guy, good singer. Things are going well with the first record, and then everything gets turned upside down, it seems, from the outside.
Only, I think for that one record, four or five cuts on that record, and then he was back, right? For
Right.
and
Yeah.
I really got along well with Derek. I got along well with the whole band, but
Yeah.
I particularly enjoyed Derek's sense of humor. Uh, and the guy who was the main production deal owner, Lou Futterman,
Hmm.
he had it with Derek.
Okay.
Uh, I don't know. He got under his skin, and so
Wow,
he asked me if I knew any singers, and Meatloaf was immediately available,
man.
and and that was it. I think it's a little known fact.
It is, and that's I try to tell everybody that's interested in that record or Ted that hey, Meatloaf's on that record. You need to listen to it, because the first record is one of my favorite records of all time. I grew up with it. I love it to death. But I think when I listen to Ted, I usually go to Free for All. That is the fun record for me, and a lot of it is because of that ballad together
I love you
on
till I
that
told you a lie. Is that's it?
record. Oh man, uh, is it that on the record?
I
Man,
think so.
yeah, it's just a
I
great
think that,
record.
yeah.
I love that record.
Good. I'm glad.
But when you were going into it, was there a concern that this might not work? No.
What, going into the record or going
Yeah,
into
going no, no,
Meatloaf?
going into the free for all record.
Oh no, I
You're
never had
changing
any.
singers, and things were shifting a little bit, it
No,
seems.
yeah, but Ted, he runs a tight ship. He was always in control and had everything planned out.
Yeah,
Pretty much. Uh,
that's cool.
there was very little concern about anything. We did five records pretty quickly,
Yeah.
and yeah, they were all good, except I mean I declined to do a sixth record because I thought, frankly, that the material on Weekend Warriors was not up to the previous ones,
Yeah, yeah, and I
and
I do like that
five is
record.
a lot. Five is a lot for one producer. Remember, Jimmy Iovine said, after three records, you should shoot your producer.
there's some truth to that, maybe, huh? That's I could see where he would say that.
Yeah.
Because you know,
No, he was pretty good. He was pretty good.
I do want to take you down one more street that may be a darker street for you. Um, Holland. Do you remember
Oh
that?
yeah,
Okay.
Tom Holland, sure.
Yeah. You had a guitar player by the name of Michael Badio. It was a Chicago band, so it was closer to me than most people. But Michael Badio, kind of a whiz kid around here, really fast shredder,
Right,
uh,
right. Yeah.
turned into Michelangelo
Huh.
Badio. He's very, very, very revered at this point. He had the double neck, the the guitar with the necks on both sides, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Like Rick.
but yeah, Rick had every guitar, didn't he? I don't know if he had the like Michael has
Oh, that thing. Yeah, well, that's
that thing.
he didn't have that. I don't
It's
think.
right. Yeah, it was a thing. But after, Holland was the beginning of that, the beginning of, his career, really. Do you remember anything special about that record, about him being in the studio?
No, I just basically remember Tom,
Hmm.
the singer.
Yeah.
Uh, he was great. He had a great voice, great. We had a lot of fun making that record, and again, a great disappointment.
And I listened to Gotta Run, and I still listen to it today, and I'm like, how was that not a hit? I
And
mean,
wasn't it Wake Up the
yeah,
wasn't it
wake up the
Wake Up
neighborhood
the
was.
Neighborhood?
I don't. Maybe that's the choice of single wasn't right,
I
because I didn't love that, and
no,
so
that's the one I remember.
yeah, Gotta Run was really
What
catchy.
what about, what about Get Up, Get Even?
Yeah, I don't remember that one as much.
Man, that was a
Yeah,
killer.
yeah,
I thought.
yeah. There was a lot of great songs on that record, and I
Yeah.
thought to myself, what went wrong there? Just one of those things. I got it here too.
I can't. I keep confusing that with the bees.
Oh, yes, another Chicago thing.
Yeah, Michael Tafoya.
Tafoya. Yep. From the boys.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It goes to the
Anyway,
bees.
well, yeah. And who was that singer?
Um, for the boys?
That wasn't Tom Holland, was it?
No,
No,
I
couldn't be.
don't think so.
No.
Um, uh,
Oh, anyway.
I can't remember
Uh,
either.
I'm glad you can't remember one or two things.
It's believe me, there's a lot. But your career fascinates me. It really does. I want to harken back to Michael Wagner, the conversation I had with Michael Wagner. He was a big AC/DC fan.
Yeah.
Never got to produce them. So, I asked him if there was one particular band, and he immediately told me AC/DC. There was no question. He said it before I got the full question out. Is there one for you? Is there a band in particular that you wanted to produce and
Um,
just didn't get
you
a
know,
chance?
People have asked me that, and really the answer is that the bands I most wanted to produce and didn't need a producer.
Oh, like the Eagles. Yeah, yeah.
Like the Eagles
Right,
and
right,
like the Who.
right.
Although Glenn Johns, who did both of
Mm,
them, he was my inspiration to become a producer. He's
genius.
a genius. You know that he's the one who suggested that Bernie Ledden play a double picking banjo in Take It Easy. I mean,
Genius.
who would have done that? What a band, really?
And
Anyway, brilliant, and it really puts the song on this wonderful pop country sled. Anyway, he's the guy. The Who
yeah.
would be probably the number one. Pete Townsend is my muse. You
Mm,
know, I just love you will. I'm sure you had realized that the keyboard figure in Surrender and Dream Police is taken right from Baba O'Reilly
Yeah,
on Who's Next.
yeah,
Anyway, that would be it.
yeah.
I wouldn't have had any luck with the Stones, because I would have tried to neaten them up, and that
Right,
is very wrong, very wrong.
right.
I think that's about it.
Okay.
The
Uh,
Who and the Eagles.
but tell me, you pass early on. Well, you don't really, but Kiss, Rush, and Leonard Skinner. That's those big three that
Yeah.
really the big fish. Did you ever think about going back like to Kiss? They could have used a producer in the '80s. Did you
Well,
think about going to those bands and saying, "Hey, I missed you the first time. Maybe let's work together in the producer way."
no, I didn't feel comfortable asking a band to use me.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I just
right,
didn't. And I probably at several points in that period wondered, will they ever call me and say, we know what you've done recently, and we've known you a long time, and you were there in the beginning, and let's go. And they didn't.
right, right.
So that's the deal.
Yeah.
They did okay though without me, don't you think?
They're pretty good. They
Yeah.
probably would have done better. Well, like
I
Kiss definitely would have done better in the '80s with you.
know.
They struggled a bit,
Yeah.
but I think they came out of it okay.
I think they
Uh, uh, what's the key to keeping a marriage and a family and all of that together through all of this stuff that you've gone through? Late nights in the studio, late nights at parties, surrounded by all kinds of debauchery. Uh,
Yep.
what kind of woman is your wife? She has to be the most sensational person walking the earth.
The very patient, very loving. She's great. We've been married 56 years.
That is
Uh,
just incredible.
and the kids are great, and the family is tight. And she was a great mom, and yeah, I met her when we were 16, and it was definitely love at first sight. I was in her face. After 3 days, we were an item. Anyway, I always knew I would marry her, and we had great kids, and so it was really important for me to preserve and protect and nurture the family as much as I could, being home very infrequently, you
Right,
know.
right.
When I went away to do a record, I could only go for like a week and a half, and then I had to come back. I had to, that was one of the conditions of if we were going to record out of town. I said I have to come back after 10 days for a couple of days, and then we can start again.
That's
Uh,
beautiful.
you know, I had my fun. I really did, but I kept it at what I considered an acceptable level. The 1970s and 80s in LA, it was just a time that won't happen again.
Right.
And it was pretty amazing, the whole, as you probably
Hmm.
read, my longest chapter is about cocaine.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought that was really it was really revealing and truthful and very introspective on your part. And not probably not a hard not an easy chapter to write.
Some of it, yeah, but
Yeah.
it was, I think, a little humorous, actually.
Yeah, well, yeah, it speaks to the time for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, well, your story isn't unusual for somebody in that time. Everybody was doing that, uh, except for Ted.
Never Ted, right? And probably D.
Yeah, yeah, and
Let's
Paul and
stay
Gene,
there.
I guess.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, could be.
yeah, yeah, they're pretty, but those guys they're the controlling forces in
Oh
each of
boy.
those bands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So, I want to respect your time, Tom, which I've kind of disrespected already. I so
No,
appreciate you. I so appreciate the time. Thank you. Um,
thank you. It was a lot of fun and pretty challenging at some points, you know.
well, I so respect and revere your career. You've touched my life so much.
That's I'm glad I could because I was just having fun. I was kind of selfish about it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, but
enjoying doing this. I'm really lucky that other people are enjoying what I do too.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, we are. I got one more thing for you.
Yeah.
If you could have a one-on-one conversation with any living person, uh, who would that be?
Person or musician?
Or anybody, person. Would it
You
be a
know,
musician?
well, yeah, it probably would. You know, probably Pete Townsend if he could open up.
Yeah, yeah,
I think so. I would have, you daydream about that stuff. I did
right,
meet him once, but I didn't. We weren't in a position to talk, and he's a pretty shy guy anyway.
right.
Um, but well, you know, it's tough. I wouldn't have anything to say if it were Mick Jagger.
Right.
You know,
Well, you got a phone call from Paul McCartney.
I did, but it wasn't from Paul himself.
No.
It was from his office. But Jagger is fantastic. Love him, but as you know, I don't think that I would have much to say or ask him. Not the same with Pete Townsend,
Yeah.
because he got to me. He influenced me. There are things about some Who songs. Street Fighting Man by the Stones is my favorite of theirs, but there are so many. I mean, how do you compare that to Won't Get Fooled Again? Uh,
To Street Fighting Man, I want to speak to that. I had a Dave Mason interview lined up, and he plays on that. And I forget what he plays, but it's a really unusual instrument. But I was listening to that track separated, broken down,
oh
isolated.
yeah,
And
wow,
I mean, you would really appreciate it as a producer. The isolation there's so many things on that track. There are so many things going on. I was
yeah,
like, how was this assembled to where it
right,
works? Uh,
yeah.
it works beautifully,
It
but
does work. Everything works beautifully, and it's not. I wouldn't have mixed it like that, but they were right.
I mean, it's so cluttered. I use the word loosely with all of these things. I mean, so
Yes,
many things, but
yes.
they're all mixed at the right level to where they put them all together, and it's street fighting, man.
Now,
It's perfect.
one of the interesting things about the Stones songs, or the early ones, is the percussion.
Yeah.
Uh, those songs are riddled with percussion, and
Yep.
as I said in the book, I mean, who's going to listen? Who? Oh, you can't say, "Hey, don't you really enjoy the maracas on
Right, right.
Sympathy for the Devil or whatever,
Absolutely. That's
whatever it
what makes
was?"
it work for me.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
say that, and it's funny the way it you think about it, but
yeah,
that's what makes that song work for me. That
yeah,
that little bit of shake. I love that.
yeah.
It, one of
They
those
made
things.
it evil.
It's, yeah, it's just crazy. Anything else in your on your list, on your bucket list, if you will, You've done so much, and so happy. I know you are where you are. You love where you
Oh
are.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
really. These are the best days of my life.
that's so
My
great.
daughter was a little irritated when I said that to her. Thanks, Dad. But really, I worked so hard for so long at two different careers. Um, and the second one was especially difficult, although as successful.
Yeah.
But to get up in the morning, or I always check my book at night for the next day. I still use books. It's because I'm a techno idiot. And I see a blank page. I have nothing, there's nothing I have to do tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
crazy.
You
That's
know, I
awesome.
can do anything I want. I could stare out the window or I could meditate all day long and it wouldn't be a waste of time for
Yeah,
me. It's
that's
great to
that
have
is
nothing to do. Yeah.
that is great. And
I do fill the time. I started volunteering at the Humane Society to get my doggy energy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Suki doesn't want a dog at the moment.
No, I know you got a cat, right?
Well, we had at least two Siamese cats for 50 years.
Uh,
We must have had 20 cats. They're gone. We're petless for the first time in 50 years, and Suki likes the freedom. We could pick up and go.
yep.
We never, ever, ever had left an empty house until this year.
Yeah. We,
Ever.
we were like that too a little few years back, and it was nice. But like you say, I missed we have a dog and a cat, and
Yeah.
I missed that energy from the
Oh,
pets.
absolutely.
Uh,
They're so good.
it,
Having a pet,
yeah,
it,
it's
we will. If I find a dog, if a dog comes into to the Humane Society, and I like it, I'll bring it home.
Is Suki
I
aware
will.
of this?
Yeah, yeah. She knows that there's a chance of that. Yeah, but I would accept all the responsibility.
There you go.
You
Oh,
know,
there you go.
He'll, he, she she'll remind me from time to time. She'll say, we'll be in bed. It'll be 10:30. It's February and it's sleeting outside. And she says,
Gotta go
what if
for a
I
walk.
take the dog out now?
Right.
They have invisible fences and things like that. I think we could do it. We could
Yeah.
manage.
Yeah, you gotta
The,
give it
the
a
only
try.
problem is we don't want the dog to outlast us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I joke with my wife. We have a cat here that's like 17 years old now. And I said, who's going to take care of the cat when we're gone?
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah,
I have friends who won't get another animal because the pain is so great when
yeah,
they die.
yeah,
I was destroyed many times.
yeah. I had nightmares on our last dog before this current one, and I didn't want to do it again. And my
Mhm.
wife brought home this golden who
Uh-huh.
was completely out of her mind. Like 7 months old, I think, when she brought her home, and like, okay, this dog is way too much. And then,
Ooh.
about 10 hours passed, and she's still here. I
Yeah.
dread the day I have to say goodbye. I love her with all my whole heart.
No, no. Yeah,
Um,
it's worse. I hate to say it, really, but it's worse than losing many people. I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Tom, this has been so much of an honor, so much pleasure. You have no idea. I I am
good
so
luck with
thankful for
it.
you.
Thank you very much. It's great to hear. I am humbled.
Yeah, it's you've done so much for so many people, the bands and the fans and so many others in so many different ways.
Thank,
It's really
thank you.
special. And one more thing, your son is in the business, is he not? He works
Yeah,
A&R.
yeah. He works in A&R for. He's a senior vice president. I don't know what his title is, but anyway, he's in A&R in LA for Warner Records. having a ball.
Has it changed? It's got to have changed.
Oh,
It's not even the same thing,
unrecognizable,
right?
unrecognizable.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
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 what you were doing is a lot different than what he's doing, right?
completely,
Yeah,
completely. Except going in the studio and kind of not supervising, but shepherding the recording so that it comes out the way the label hoped it would.
right, right. Yeah.
But
Uh,
we can't. I mean, the music he listens to and the music I listen to are light years apart. Although he knows everything.
yeah.
He'll start in the 30s. He's a collector, and he will, I don't want to give away his trade secrets, but he will go into a store, a record store, and know much more than the owner. And he'll pick out a couple of $9 or $12 records and sell them for hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
And he does this a lot. He's amazing. He knows far more than I do about the history of music.
Yeah, he probably knows those little things that you've done that you don't recall.
It's true. It's true. He came to me with a record that I did with a band called Ujima, and this was a soul funk band from Richmond, Virginia,
Wow.
and he knew about it, and it was collectible. Anyway,
It's
yeah,
great. It's great. I'm so happy for you. Happy you're in a great place. Obviously, mentally and physically, family as well.
yeah, yeah.
It's just awesome. It's just awesome.
Thank you.
I'm so
I
thankful for you, Tom.
really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay,
All
be
right.
well.
Yes, and I'll send you the email with some stuff.
Please,
Okay.
please try to remember it all.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you, Tom. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.